This is Niz with Venus Arms, and here we have the bamboo katana. You're looking at the components of the katana. On the left-hand side, you can see the handle. The tsuba pieces are in the middle, and the blade on the right-hand side. Here we are shaping the blade. I used a plank of bamboo flooring, and I have cut a bit of an arc on it, and in this frame here, I am grinding that arc flat. Now I've taken a piece of 1.5 inch masking tape and ran it following that arc along the edge. This gives me a nice parallel arc to cut the blade out of. As you could see, I was cutting it with a jigsaw, and now I am back on the table saw cutting an angle or edge onto the blade. You can see the blade of the table saw as at a bit of an angle right there. For the folks at home, you'll probably have to figure that angle out on your own, because I just sort of eyeballed it and tested it out a couple of times until I felt like I had the right angle. So you just cut the angle on both sides, just like you see here, and then in the next one, you'll see we're going to flatten it out. What I did is I just taped one of my rips back onto the side to give me a flat side, and there we are, flattening out the flat, non-edged part of the blade, the back of the blade. You'll need to flip it around and do it again, and here we are, just kind of sanding it up to make that arc a little flatter. So now we have the blade, the longer piece on the right-hand side completed, and here we will chop up the rest of it. And as you can see, it's just a regular old, miter saw, nothing special. You just take a chunk of bamboo, stick it on there, and take a nice slice out of it. We're using a material called tom vong, which is a Vietnamese species of bamboo that's significantly thicker. And the knuckle of a larger gauge piece of bamboo to be the outside of the tsuba. There you can see the angle that we have cut onto the blade itself, and we've cut the back of the blade into a sort of a tang shape. There's our handle, basically just a foot-long chunk of bamboo, and here's the tom vong I was talking about. And here is the knuckle. You can see the ridge in it. Bamboo is basically a series of tubes and knuckles, and that one is about a 3 inch. You can see here the tools that we're using. This is a file, just your general old raspy kind of a file. There's a square and a Japanese pole saw. That's some stain that we're going to use later, a little bit of super glue, some sandpaper. Here we have an adorable little purple panda that I painted. Not that that's important, but let's get to work here. I have taken the liberty of drawing out a little picture of what I want it to look like when it's all done. And I just sort of traced around the shapes that I had cut and layered them over each other when I traced them, and then kind of erased what I didn't need and drew some lines where they intersect. And now I'm going to mark where my intersecting lines are on my piece so that I can cut the 3 pieces of tom vong to fit together to sort of make up the shape of the crest that Usagi Yojimbo wears on his uniform. It's actually the crest of his dojo. That's just a regular old razor blade, and I'm going to use that to slice some flat edges. As you can see, I'm just kind of tapping it right down along the length of the grain of the tom vong, and it splits off real nice and flat. So I'm just kind of following the lines that I just marked. And in a moment here, you'll see Dex showing more of a close-up of that. There's her hand there, and you can sort of see at the top of it there that now I've got 2 flat sides instead of a full round shape. I'm going to go ahead and repeat that process on all 3 of the pieces. and so that when we put them all together, the three pieces should fit snugly together. And you'll see the shape here, what we're looking for. There it is. Now you can see a little bit of a little crack through the middle of them. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to sand them down a little bit flat here. I like to use a piece of sandpaper stuck to a board as a flat surface, and then actually, rather than making a sanding block and trying to hold on to everything, this gives me a nice flat, stable surface to work on. I would suggest doing the same. Makes it a lot easier. Now what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and glue with just basically an industrial strength super glue. You can get it at any model shop, place where they make, model airplanes, things like that. It's called cyanocrylite. Not that that's important, but that's an activator she's spraying on there. It makes the glue dry super fast. Already the video's in fast motion, but you can see that it dried pretty quick there. So now that I have my two pieces glued together, I'm just going to fit the last one in snug. That makes it a little easier if you start with the two pieces together. And I'm just trimming off a little tiny bit more off of the two flat cuts that I had made. And you can see here, bam! Now they all fit together great. I've also marked them in order so that I can keep track of them. But now they fit nice and tight. So we're going to go ahead and glue them all together here. Do a little finish sanding just to get it that much more snug. And now we'll go ahead and glue it all together. So there we are. Spray a little activator on. A few seconds later, we're good to go. So now what I need to do is go ahead and set that on top of the knuckle piece, that's the outside of the tsuba, and draw some little lines on it of where I'm going to need to relieve it so that the inner piece can slip down inside of it. You can see me here filing away. Now I filed like a madman on that thing, and in the end, I'll let you folks in on a little secret. In the end, I actually used a Dremel that is not portrayed here because I couldn't do it in this room without dusting it out. So I would suggest if you have access to a Dremel tool, use that or something of that nature. If you have a tiny little drum sander, maybe that would help. But doing it by hand with a file like this is a serious pain in the ass. Well, you can see here, this is ultra fast motion, and I'm grinding the crap out of it. And grinding it a little more. Now, here what I'm doing is I'm just roughing up the outside edges of our inner piece so that the glue will stick. And we'll get a close-up shot here. Ooh, it all fits nicely in there, no problem. We can go ahead and just glue it right in, and then we'll cut out the center hole. You can see the relief cuts that I've made in it. Okay, here we go. Once again, you could use any kind of super glue. It'll pretty much all do the same thing. It's basically all the same chemical. I like this one. It's made by a company called FastCap. You can find them online, FASTCAP. And you can order this glue right from their website. They make some amazing stuff for cabinet installers and cabinet makers and people in the general cabinet industry, but we've found that they're pretty good for the bamboo art industry too. Here I'm going to go ahead and just trace the profile of the blade right there on the tsuba, and then we'll go ahead and cut it out. Now I would suggest go ahead and drill a couple of holes in there and then connect your dots with the razor blade if you can, or a very sharp chisel or knife. I actually broke a razor blade in half. I'm using, the flat single-edged razor blades. And there you can see the cut that I've made. It fits the blade nicely. It's a little bit snug, but it's loose enough that you can slide it onto the blade itself. And I've drilled some holes there in the tang of the blade, because when we insert the blade into the handle, we're going to fill it up with epoxy, and that's what's going to hold the whole thing together. And we'll actually put a little bit more glue. Here's the gluing sequence. Again, can't glue it in the room there. The fumes are too bad. So we filled up the blade with an epoxy, filled up the handle with an epoxy and stuffed the blade right into it, let it dry for a while, and now it's all one nice, complete, glued-in unit, ready for staining. I have also filled in the hole at the bottom of it with auto body filler. I use Bondo, but it doesn't matter what brand. We're going to stain it so you'll never see the pink color once it's done. It'll just look green like everything else. Now you can stain it any color you want. Here I'm just trimming the end of the blade, the tip of it, to give it that nice little angle. There's no substitute for a good Japanese pole saw either. Those things are just perfect for this work. Now here what I've done is I've taken a glycol-based stain tinting color, which is what they make professional wood stains out of. I just went down to a professional wood stain shop near where I live and bought some of their base colors. This one we call Starbug. It is just a dark green. We've mixed it with a little bit of water, and just as a vehicle, and you just take a rag and wipe it on like any wood stain. It will stain your hands, it'll stain your face, your shirt, whatever you touch with it, so make sure you're careful. You should be wearing gloves. Do as I say, not as I do. Now what we're going to do here, just for fun, is we're going to stain the tsuba and the flat part of the blade the Starbug color, and we are going to stain the edge of the blade and the handle a different color. So now I'm taking a piece of sandpaper on a block and I'm sanding the edge of it to remove any stain that's smeared onto it. That was actually Dex removing the bottle of stain, not me knocking it over. But looking back on it now, it sure appears like I just tipped it right over into my living room. But alright, there's the Starbug. And you can see here how the edge of the blade has no stain on it. Now here's the finished product. Stained up, ready to go. There you can see the two different colors. Darker green on the top, lighter green on the bottom. There you have it. That's basically all there is to it. Shoot a couple of coats of rattle can lacquer on it to seal it all in. You're good to go. Add your own Usagi Yojimbo costume. So we started here with our basic parts. We glued them together. And voila, finished product. There you have it. Thank you for tuning in. VenusArms.com.